theme song. So that's what we are. The bass guitar. And the bass guitar may seem like it's just me showing off right now with my special strap here, and it's irrelevant to this, but it's not, because the bass guitar and the bass in music gives the music depth. It's one of the most important but overlooked things. And when you start to really listen to the bass, you'll realise that all songs are really, really, really held together by the bass and that depth that instrument gives you, even when it's something as simple as like one of my favourite songs, With or Without You. Or like something as iconic as Psycho Killer. The instrument doesn't necessarily have to do something complicated, but what it does, and the great bass player can do, is give the depth to the music. Also, I learned the bass so that I could, because nobody ever wanted to play the bass, but always wanted to be the guitar player, so you get in more bands. Anyways, so how does this really relate to our math lesson? Well, we're going to be thinking about depth in relation to dimensions. Let me just put the old that's down there. So, specifically, what we're thinking about when we think about dimensions is that we can start with a line. It has length. It's got one dimension. If I take my line and I have another dimension, now I've got width. Length and width. Now, so if I add another line, I've now got width. I've got length and width. Well, all this week, we're going to be thinking about the third dimension. You hear like 3D glasses, 3D movies. What are we getting? We're getting that third dimension. And that third dimension is depth. And that comes along here. And that's where the bass connects, because it gives the depth to the music. We're thinking about the depth to a shape. We're thinking particularly this week about rectangles, because that's where we're going to start. Rectangles, rectangular prisms and cubes are going to be where we start. If we're thinking about this idea of how much space something takes up, that's really what we're on about. We're talking about its depth, its space it takes up, and that has a type of word, it's volume. And when I say volume, I don't mean this type of volume. No. But I mean the space something takes up, and that's what we're going to be investigating, that third dimension this week. And what we want to be thinking about is how, when we had area, we had 2 dimensions, and we could think about how many squares I might pack into something. So we have a unit that ends up being, it could be an inch square or a centimetre square. Let's just for argument's sake, inch. 1 inch here, 1 inch here. That is a square inch. Well, now we've got to think about a cubed inch, because our unit that we're going to measure would have 3 dimensions. It would have another dimension, which is 1 inch. So if you hear that something is 7 cubic inches, it means I can think of it as being filled. The space it takes up is 7 little cubes, where each face has 1 inch by 1 inch, and so then our depth is 1 inch too. This is all a study of volume, packing things in and seeing how much space is inside and taken up on that third dimension. Now, there is also a 4th dimension, which is time. You don't need to worry about that too much. And if you continue to study in physics, there is actually more than just that 4th dimension. There are other dimensions too, space-time, etc. You'll learn about that later. I mean, if you're in England, we learn about it in 1st grade, but So we're going to learn all about how we might measure, how we can work out what space something takes up. That's really what this week's learning is about. So I will now leave you with our theme song. With distortion. Never do a bass solo.